Excuse me, I would like to welcome everyone. My name is Deanne Lautenbach. I am a deafblind specialist here at the Center for Deafblind Persons in West Allis, Wisconsin. Welcome to Friday. I appreciate your attendance with us for this, our final webinar of our Deafblind Awareness Week. It's been a very wonderful experience for all of us, and I'm excited actually that it's wrapping up. It's been a great experience, and we thank everybody for joining us and learning from us, and we hope that you are walking away with a lot of new information and a resource. So let's get started. Labeling in the home. I could spend hours talking about labeling in the home. Today, the plan is to just take you through what labeling is about, what types of labels we can use, and give you some examples throughout the home. So we'll get started here. What is labeling? Labeling and marking are used to help with the identification of and use of items such as clothing, foods, remote controls, cleaning products, and medications. And you can see on your right of the screen that there is a hand there. And on that hand, there's a fingertip, excuse me, my screen just changed. There is a fingertip on an appliance, and that is actually a microwave. And that microwave is manufactured so that it has a Braille keyboard on it. And this individual also has 2 bump dots, and those are there probably for that individual to get quick, simple notification that he or she is going to use the 60-second or 1-minute button, and also to find the start button on the microwave. Why label? Labeling and marking, we do use marking as well, is a means in which a person who is deafblind can identify specific items in their home and in their daily life without the assistance of someone else, showing them what they need, pulling something out of the cupboard for them. It's a very simple system, or can be, and very effective. Where are labels used? Well, throughout the home, in the kitchen, the bathroom, laundry room, bedroom, in the garage, in the basement. You can also use labeling at home, in school, anywhere that you need more information on a specific item, labeling is necessary. It's, like I said, a way to keep you independent and to be effective for an efficient environment for you. Labeling and marking considerations. Well, we can all just label if we want, I guess, but take some questions to ask yourself. Sorry, Friday morning, the brain still isn't quite there. Will the label be reused? We like to reuse things. A lot of products are plastic. A lot of products we have nowadays are throwaway. Can you have a label that you're going to reuse repeatedly? Will the label be washed regularly? We do wash our clothes, and some of them do need to be labeled. So we do need to give consideration to what type of labels we're going to use if we launder our clothes with them. Do you want the label to be permanent? Is it a label that is going to be on an appliance or something like that? Quite often those you want to be permanent. You don't want to have to be replacing every day or every couple of days. How will it be attached? Can you use an adhesive backed marker, or is it something that's going to have to be sewn on? And in that situation, How are you at sewing? Or are you going to have to ask someone to assist you with that? And finally, is this label going to interfere with the usage of the item that you are labeling? Later on, I will give you a couple of examples where that is a possibility, or even a necessity for a reminder. I think before we really talk about labels and show them to you, it's important that if you are an individual who's deafblind, or you work with someone who's deafblind, that you know organization and placement of items is important. It can help simplify and reduce the amount of labeling needed in the home or in any situation where labeling is required. I'm going to give you a few different examples here, but always keep in mind, like I said, organization is important. So in the kitchen, if you're a big cereal eater or any item that you use often, whether it's pasta, cereal, maybe soups, canned soups, have those items on a lower shelf where they're easy for you to reach. Those items, like I said, are used often, simple to find. You can label them as well, but at least you've got them in a simple, easily identified area. I have been in homes where, you know, we open the cabinets and let's take a look at labeling, and holy cow, I've got, you know, soup on the first shelf and I got another can of soup in the back on the left-hand side and up on the third shelf, and it's chaos. So just simple organization of the cupboard really helps with identification. We're going to move on into the bathroom. Please know that I'm giving you ideas. That doesn't mean you have to use these. These are just ideas, but it's a good tool to give you some ideas when you are helping a consumer, or you yourself are deafblind and you're thinking, wow, things just aren't working here. These are just ideas. So in the bathroom, you use shampoo and conditioner. A simple way to keep them organized is have your shampoo on the side of the tub by the faucet. And on the other end of the tub, put your conditioner. You don't need labels. And when you replace them, you know you're putting your shampoo on one side of the tub and the conditioner on the other. Under the sink, a great way to organize items is in baskets. You can separate out appliances like curling irons, hair dryers, things like that into a basket, and make sure that when you are using baskets to separate items, let's put the appliances in a wicker type of basket. It has a rough texture on the outside. And then maybe a second basket for shampoos and soaps. And that basket has very, you can feel a basket weave. It has holes in it. It's a very different texture than the first basket. And then we have a third plastic bin that has a smooth exterior, easy to identify the difference between these three baskets. And in that smooth bucket, you have your cleaners. And it's important when we're in the bathroom or in any room where you do have cleaning supplies that they should be sufficiently marked, appropriately marked, and placed away from soaps, shampoos, or even foods. And hopefully you don't have foods close to your cleaning supplies, but there are situations where storage is tight and you do need to make accommodations for certain items in the kitchen area, for example. Medications. One thing I want to say here is these are ideas again. If you work with a consumer who you don't trust with their medications or have some concerns, and you have a system that is working, stick with that. These are, again, just ideas for you to use. Morning medications. They can be left on the kitchen table. We usually take our morning and our lunchtime medications with food. So those can be on the kitchen table. If we're going to keep both the morning and the lunchtime medications together, a very quick, simple way to identify your lunchtime medications is to have a rubber band around the bottles. It's very tactile. It doesn't have to be seen. If the individual is low vision, they can feel that rubber band on there and know the difference between the morning and lunchtime medications. And bedtime medications, you can put those on the nightstand. I'm in the habit of taking a bottle of water with me to bed every night. And for me, that would be a very simple way to remember that I have to take my nighttime medications. However, I will tell you, in my own situation, I do have my medications in a cabinet, and an easy way for me to identify my nighttime medication is that it has a rubber band on it. And so I, as a sighted user, am still using these tools. So we've talked about organization and placement. Let's talk about the labels now. What can we use for a label? Well, honestly, the sky is the limit when it comes to labeling. Be creative, but be practical. You can purchase labels. There are various types of labels that you can spend money on. However, there are a lot of household items that can be used, and those tend to be more cost effective, especially if you're on a limited income. You can go to Walmart, Target, you can go to craft stores, you can go just about anywhere, a hardware store, to find a lot of the labels that we do use here at the center, or that I have recommended for consumers. So, and these aren't my ideas, trust me, I've gotten a lot of these from even my the clients that I've had the opportunity to work with. Here's a couple of ideas for purchased materials. On the top, you see a black pen-shaped object pointing at a pill bottle. The pill bottle has a yellow sticker on it, and the pen has yellow buttons on it, and that is called a Pen Friend 2. It's an electronic voice labeling system. It's great. You can use pre-recorded labels, or you can record your own labels and put them onto objects. One thing I will tell you is this doesn't work too well with anything you have to launder, but it does work if you have, let's say, a collection of spices. My spice drawer is pretty full, and I love to cook, and I'm tired of trying to read all the Braille labels. I can quickly make a tag, add it to each spice, and the pen friend will read it to me. However, this does not work for someone who has no hearing, or is someone who has a severe hearing loss, hard of hearing, could use it, but it is for someone who hears. The other thing about this device is it's very neat, but the price point, we're looking at about $200 to purchase the Pen Friend 2. Below that are clothing identifiers. These are, I believe, aluminum clothing tags. You can see on them that they do have the words or abbreviated words on them. They're striped. light green, tan, dark pink. Below the word is also the Braille abbreviation for each of those colors. You can purchase these depending on what sets you get. We're talking about $30. You could use these for clothes. In this case, you could, if you're big into fiber arts, you could identify your yarns using these, tying the tag onto the end of the yarn. So you're able to identify the colors that you have quickly and easily. Again, these would have to be sewn into your clothes. I know a lot of individuals don't like to feel that tag when they're wearing their shirts. That's why we've changed to tagless t-shirts and everything. But those also can be purchased. Household items. I have two slides on this. And this first one is what I would say for low vision, deaf, blind individuals. And the reason I'm saying that is that, well, as I explain it and you see them later, you are going to need vision for to use most of these. They are interchangeable with the next slide that I have. Some consumers can use both. So these are just ideas. First, note cards. You can see I have a picture on the screen of neon colored note cards. You can use white, but I will tell you that some individuals who are low vision are very sensitive to glare. So white note card might not be the best choice. What I would suggest is to purchase or to find a white note card versus the neon colored cards, and see which works best and see if you're getting glare from using the note card. And you're going to ask me, what's the note card used for? Well, you're going to use that note card with a wide tip marker like a Sharpie or a 2020 felt tip pen, and you're going to write in very large print the item that you want to label. And with that, you can attach it with a rubber band or with tape or whatever, but those are some of the items that we have. Laundry markers, those are great for helping you if you can, like socks even, you know, this pair goes together, left, right, you could put that on. Laundry markers are nice if you have to identify a person's clothing. It's washable and stays on for a long time. I want to just step back to the 2020 felt tip pen and the Sharpie marker. The Sharpie markers, I use them all the time. They are more readily available than 2020 pens. However, Sharpie markers bleed through the paper, whereas the 2020 pens don't. So if you don't like the mess, occasionally I will write on my desk and it will bleed through and I have to wash my desktop off. So be aware, Sharpie markers work great. The 2020 felt tips, they're not as easily available. You do have to purchase them through an independent living aids company, but they don't bleed, and that is very nice. Moving down, fabric paint. That is a great way to mark clothes. It's washable. It doesn't scratch and itch. It's smooth, but it still has a raised edge on it. So it's more of a bump. It's not smooth and blended in. There are some that do blend in, but the fabric paint, as long as you check to make sure it's either puffy or three-dimensional, it will leave a raised edge on the paint. And finally, puffy paint. That is a product that I use a lot when doing high marks or raised dots for products, for marking, such as measuring cups and things like that. It's a very nice way to, it's an inexpensive way to be able to mark things, and it's permanent or semi-permanent. Sometimes it doesn't like to go through the wash, but it's also very easy to reapply if necessary. All right, we're going to move on to the next. Now, these ideas here are for individuals who are blind, and the reason is they're just more of a tactile product than the previous slide. Rubber bands, large paper clips, those types of things you can get at an office supply store. Hair bands, the type we pull our hair back into ponytails with, or even headbands. I've seen headbands, the thinner elastic ones, used for binding folders of paper together and being used that way. Velcro, both the scratchy side as well as the fuzzier side of the Velcro. You've got two different types of textures there to use for marking. Safety pins. Safety pins are used a lot for clothing, for a variety of things. Now, you can probably think of 10 or 15 different things that you would use safety pins with. Pipe cleaners, those are fuzzy. They can also come in fuzzy with metallic, so you're getting two different textures with those. Those are great for wrapping around. Let's say you have 2 loaves of bread in the kitchen and you like raisin bread and you've got white bread, and so the plain pipe cleaner might go around the white bread, and the fuzzy pipe cleaner or the scratchy pipe cleaner is going to go around your raisin bread. Foam letters and shapes. What's nice about the foam letters and shapes is that those can be semi-permanent. If you are able to feel the print and the letter shape and identify it, letters are great. Otherwise, shapes work as well. They are easily replaceable. They're durable, and they usually have already a self-adhesive backing on them. Finally, furniture protectors, we call them bump dots. In this slide here, you can see these are bump dots. They are available from independent living aids companies. A great place to find them is hardware store. They have a variety of different sizes and shapes. Bump dots can be square, they can be round, they can be rectangular. They can have a domed or rounded top on them or a flat raised top on them. They can be fuzzy felt bump dots. So if you were to walk around the center here, you would find felt bump dots, you would find plastic, a variety of different types of bump dots. Including Velcro. We use the Velcro as bump dots too, because they do come in round discs. So those are all the household items. These are all what I would consider more inexpensive, easily, readily available from any of your local stores, from hardware stores, even craft stores. So great ideas, and really just be creative with them. But you want to keep it simple. And I have had the opportunity throughout the years, to see some very original ways of labeling. Excuse me, had to take a quick drink there. You went and found these really cool flower buttons, and you've decided you're going to label your games. So your Scrabble button has the 5-point star, and then you've given all the other games a different feeling, a different star with a different shape to it, or flower, excuse me. And then 6 months down the road, you pull out the Scrabble game and you're not remembering which flower you put on it, because like I said, you had a whole bunch of different flowers. So you want to keep it simple. In a situation like that, if Scrabble is being used the most, I would probably put a large print abbreviation for Scrabble, like maybe SCB. You could also do it with Braille. So that would be an idea for those. Another one is really you want your label to stay in place. Tomato shaped magnet, if it's on a product in your refrigerator, it might get knocked off. You don't see that you're putting in your supper, leftovers from supper, and you knock the tomato off of the can of soup that it was on. It's probably more effective in your kitchen cabinet, or actually probably on the refrigerator. I'm not knocking these. I think the fruit and vegetable magnets are really cool, but you have to make sure that they stay in place. Right. I'm going to go on to the next set of slides here and just give you some ideas. As you can see, we're going to be moving into the kitchen of some labeling ideas. They are not all of the ideas. These are just examples. I'm also going to add in on some of them some additional information, such as, are they, removable? Could they be permanent? Stuff like that. So I'm going to take on to the next part here. In the kitchen, utensils. Utensils tend to be, I guess it depends on how you organize. When I think of utensils, most of them we can put into a caddy or a drawer. Here at the center, we have a really nice caddy that we have brailled all of the sections, spatula, whisk, wooden spoon. The problem is that we have too many, and so they're never able to all fit into their little section. And I think that's also a really important thing for the consumer, for you in your home, that you realize that you don't want to have too many of one thing. It makes it hard, and it also makes organizing a little difficult. But with some of the utensils we have here, I'm just going to go over, you want probably to have something permanent and durable. You want it to be washable because it's going to go into the dishwasher, or you're going to be washing it before you put it away. I have a picture here of measuring cups and of measuring spoons. And when I first started working here and learning about how measuring cups go together, I had learned that they go in order 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's 1 cup, 1/2 cup, which is our 2, 1/3 cup, and 1/4 cup. So it goes from largest to smallest, 1, 2, 3, 4. The cups here that I have pictured do have a bump dot, not a bump dot. This is a dot that I used a puffy paint with. And I put 1 for the 1 cup, 2 for the 1/2 cup, and so on up. Measuring spoons. They're a little bit trickier because depending on where you buy them, you might be getting 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon, and 1/8 teaspoon. The set we have here is 1 tablespoon, teaspoon, 1/2, and 1/4. And as you can see, they're marked, and not perfectly, but to the best that we could use for the consumer we use them with. And for that consumer, it works. For the 1/4 teaspoon, we have 4 dots. For the 1/2 teaspoon, we have 2 dots. For 1 teaspoon, we have 1 dot. And then for the tablespoon, we have a larger dot. And yesterday, if you did attend, Lisa said instead of a dot, we could put a long dash. So there's another option right there. Right, moving on to foods that we have in the kitchen. Canned goods. And I have canned goods, just other, foods that are in there, in the cupboards. We want to use possibly, I would say, reusable more often than permanent labels. I will show you a couple of ideas for permanent labels. What's great about these two, and I'm going to describe them to you, is I have on the top, and just one second, I'm going to bring up my handy dandy little spotlight here. On the top, if you see this, we have pork and beans, and that pork and beans actually, and I don't know that you can see, is also a braille label. It's from the picture that's below. This label is made out of plastic sheet, which you can buy plastic sheets from your office supply store. You can cut them. If you have a brailer, you can braille this. That's what's nice about the plastic sheet. The braille dot stays on there. You could also use cardstock. These have an elastic cord connected to them so they easily go over the can, and they're on that can. So the first can shows a can of pork and beans. I see the label and it's in braille. This shows you both for low vision as well as for someone who is a braille user. The coffee container that is next to us, that is low vision. Obviously, we've used the note card here and a Sharpie marker, and also it's attached with just a simple rubber band. So I don't have to, going back to these plastic labels, I don't have to use a fancy connector to my labels. I can simply just use a rubber band. A bag of rubber bands is very inexpensive. So a nice thing to think about that way. One other thing I have here, it's a great shopping list. So I get done with my pork and beans, and that was my last can. I have a Ziploc baggie with tags in it that are the plastic tags that you see here. And I put those tags into that bag because I need to buy myself some more pork and beans. So when I go to the grocery store, I'm going to take that Ziploc baggie, and each tag that I have in that Ziploc baggie is a reminder that, hey, I need to get pork and beans. I need to get a can of cream of mushroom soup, peaches, my box of Rice Krispies. So it's a really nice shopping list. And the same is true for the note cards. As you can see on the last picture on this page, I have a simple white envelope. I keep all of my spare labels in that envelope, and I can easily put that envelope in my purse or in my coat pocket, go to the store, pull out each of these cards, and my shopping is done. Permanent tags or permanent labels in the kitchen. I'm showing you a couple of permanent ones we have here. I put the top one, which is whole grain bulgur cracked wheat. And I guess I don't really think I would use a permanent label. However, you can see right above the whole grain, there is a label, a braille label there that does say, no, I'm having a hard time reading it myself, but probably the whole grain bulgur on there. And the label is on there permanently. If I am a big consumer of bulgur wheat, then I think I'm going to want something a little bit more reusable in one of the two labels that I showed you there. Looking at the picture below that are spices. Celery seed on the left-hand side, you can see has a braille label, and it does say celery seed right there. That, and then to the right of that is a container of dill, and that one is large print. So there's an example of a braille label and the other one is an example of a large print label. Now, for that situation, we don't always go through our spices as quickly as we might go through cereal or our grains. So having a permanent label on there is a lot easier. That, and when you are storing spices, it's kind of difficult to have little tags on them and have to adjust to that. All right, we're going to move on. Medications. Excuse me. Ooh, I'm running a little behind here. I need to be quiet and keep moving. Medications. We talked a little bit before on how we can mark medications. Reusable, a lot of pill containers are reusable. Very often they are brailled. You can see that for nighttime medications, if you're low vision, simply writing the word night in large print will help. Also using a rubber band. And if you look at the caps are different, and that's an easy way also. If you're only using a night and a morning pill, the identification of just a simple cap change will help an individual to be able to identify the two. We have a large pill box here that was large print, and it's been well loved, and the print is starting to fade on it. And right below that is actually another pill case, and that one has the letters on it and is in Braille, but the picture did not do it justice. So I did add another pill bottle or pill container to the right. That one is clearly marked. It's a white case with black large print letters, Sunday through Saturday. It also includes the numbers 1 through 7 and their Braille equivalent. These, of course, are purchased, the pill bottles. Bathroom. Moving on to the bathroom. Many of these are permanent. They can be reusable. And I'm put in here, will marking interfere? We talked about that before. Yeah, with this picture, I want you to see this, and this is why I have this one in here. These two bottles are very similar. And if you are a sighted person, you're like, well, no, they're not. One's white and blue and the other one's yellow. If you do not have the vision to see that these bottles are the same, or if you're low vision and can't see any contrasting colors, these bottles are very similar. And what this consumer did was to mark one of the bottles. One bottle is Clorox bleach. It's a bleach spray. The other one is Lysol all-purpose cleaner. So the reason that the first one has a rubber band at the top by the spray nozzle is because it's going to interfere. When they spray, it's going to jam. And the reason is that's a reminder for that individual for that individual to know that that's bleach. So they can take that rubber band off or move it back so they're able to spray. But it's a reminder that, oh, wait, this is bleach, or I need to check the label. And if you look down on the label itself, we do have a large print, black with white letter label that says bleach. And that is one, because you might not want to be getting bleach on your clothes. You might be thinking it's air freshener and spraying it all over the house and ruining things, because bleach does take the color out. So another important thing to remember here is chemicals. We need to make sure we handle them carefully. Anybody, it doesn't matter who you are, but just make sure if you are working with a consumer, they are responsible and know how to, and most more than not do know. Here's a couple ideas for organization underneath the sink in your bathroom. Above is a very beautifully organized cabinet. You can tell this is something probably, from IKEA. It's got a nice shelf with toilet paper and some other items above it. And on the right side, it has two baskets, one on top of the other. The top basket has your shampoos and all of those things. And below that are the scrubby sponges and a makeup bag. That's very well organized. It does keep things separated. What I will point out here is that these two baskets have the same texture, and it will not be an easy task for some people to identify the difference between the two baskets. Coming down to the other picture, you can see in the bathroom sink here, we have a plastic tub that is holding our cleaning solutions in here. And off to the left-hand side, we have our shaving cream and shampoo. There are other items that are back and not readily available, but probably are marked. And then off to the left, and you really can't see that in this picture, is another basket, and that is holding medical type supplies. And it is a very different basket. I think you can see in the corner, it has holes in it. So the texture of the two baskets are different, and they hold two different types of materials. Cleaning supplies. Another one of these pictures, I have to show you this. Again, if you have vision, you can see that the two bottles, they're about a gallon size bottle each, are similar, but really you can see a difference. One, you can see a green liquid in it. The other one you cannot see through. However, if I were to put a blindfold on you and I were to say, hey, give me the bottle that has bleach in it, I'm pretty sure you couldn't tell me which one it was without some form of marking or identification. Cleaning supplies, you definitely want to make sure that they're marked clearly, that you have them in the proper place. I'm going to show you the next slide. As you can see, this is the picture from above. We saw the back sides of these two bottles. I did not show you which one was which. But now we're seeing the front side of the bottles. The bleach is on the right, and it has a large print label that says bleach on it. Is that the best label to have? It depends on the user and if it works for that person. On the left-hand side, we have Mr. Clean. They each are cleaning products. However, one is a little bit more caustic than the other, and the outcome with using either of those cleaning supplies can have a very different outcome. We don't want to bleach things out accidentally by spraying them with a bleach cleaner. So on the Mr. Clean bottle, I have some felt bump dot markers here. Whoops, I knew I was going to do that. I have some felt bump dot markers, and that's an easy way to look. If you grab the handle, your hand is going to look for the marks. Remember, I put those marks there. It's my cleaning supply. I know where to look for that marking. If it's for a different consumer, if I'm working with a consumer, I'm never going to say, do it this way. I'm going to let the consumer tell me what works best, and we work together if they are doing labeling, if we're doing it together. One thing I want to add with this is I have a consumer I have worked with in the past, and he told me a really great idea, and I'm sharing this, and maybe you know this, but put it in the back of your mind. When he goes shopping, if he needs cleaning supplies, he will only get one type of cleaning supply at a time, because when he gets home and he unbags, if he had toilet bowl cleaner and bleach and something else that looked very similar, he's not going to be able to tell them apart without some assistance. So if he's shopping independently, he is only going to buy the bleach for that day, and he's not going to buy a bottle of vinegar either, because those two bottles look very similar. So he really is very conscientious that every item that he's getting for cleaning does not look similar to another item in his cart. So that's something to think about. And usually our items, if we do them, if we rotate them, we're not going to be running into issues of repeating or having multiple items that look similar. All right, moving on to electronics. You want something that's permanent, durable, and washable. Electronics, if you're wiping it off at home, hopefully you are, you want to make sure that these bump dots stay. This one is, I think, nicely marked, maybe a little less than I would put on it, but it's not my computer. This individual, if you look at the top of the screen on the computer itself, has a bump dot for the power button. When we come to the keyboard, this is very sparsely marked, but hey, this consumer does touch type and does know where all the keys are and only needs to know the number order. So that individual has a dot on the number 5 key. And then they also have a dot on the enter key, just to make sure they're not hitting the shift key. They feel that dot when they bring their pinky over. Moving down, we see the Braille display, and the Braille display on this device has on the Braille keys dot the key 1, key 3, 4, and 6. So if you're a Braille user and you're able to read the bump dots on there, you can see that they're on those specific keys. All right, moving on to the next one is a TV remote. Like to keep this simple as well. The power button doesn't need a bump dot. It's large, it's on the top left corner, it's bigger than the key that is next to it, which is the TV key. The number 5 in the number pad is marked. If you know your number pad, you can find the other numbers around it. Moving down to the center, you have the 4 arrows, and there is a bump dot in the middle. Usually that's the OK button. And finally, moving down to the play button at the bottom of the remote. And that's those. Now, I will tell you again, we're looking at permanent, durable dots, and less is more, and I'm going to show you why less is more. We're not going to be on this very quickly, but I have the remote I just described to you, and now I have the remote next to it that has just about every button covered with a bump dot of some texture. And it's, how do you know what you've marked? You might forget. They even have the volume and the channel button covered so that you can't even use the buttons correctly. Outlets, and the reason I'm talking about outlets, when we plug in and plug into an outlet, sometimes you're afraid you're going to stick your finger in the socket. With this, there's a bump dot above it. You find your bump dot and you bring your plug down and into the outlet. I have 3 different ones on here. I have a round dot, a square rubber dot, and a piece of Velcro. Those are all examples. You do not put more than 1 on your outlet. Clothing, really quickly. We talked earlier about tagless shirts. In this, I have 3 different colored shirts. I have white, black, and gray. I put 1 safety pin on my black shirt. I put 2 safety pins on my gray shirt. The next slide I'm going to show you is of the gray shirt. And sorry, it did not come out clearly here, but this is a Braille, aluminum Braille tag that is sewn into the tag of the t-shirt. Another idea for that is to cut your tags. If you have 2 shirts of the same make, you can cut like a blue shirt and a purple shirt. You can cut the tag on the blue shirt or whatever selection that you make for that. Other clothing ideas, hangers. If you're going to hang skirts or pants, put them on a pant hanger or skirt hanger. It's a little bit different. And if you're putting them on the same type of hanger, put your pants to one side and your skirts to the other side and put other clothes between them. And with plastic hangers, you can simply put a safety pin or two, depending on what color combination that you would use. Socks, rubber bands, hair ties, these sock holders, they all are reusable, they're washable. It's a great way to keep your socks together, throw them in the wash, and they come out together. You can put them in your drawer that way or remove the sock connector and fold your socks and put them away. Appliances. Here we have a wash machine and dryer. These we want to try to go with a permanent, durable, washable type of tag. With the wash machine here, this individual doesn't want all of the temperatures to be labeled on the temperature knob. It is labeled temperatures, but they only wanted cold and warm to be labeled because those are the only temperatures that that individual uses and can easily move the knob to that temperature. Load size is the same. They only use a small or medium load. For the dryer, if you look at the next picture, the dryer, they have on here the off button, and they have between the time that they want, which is between 40 and 50 minutes. They're able to turn the knob to the 40, 50 minute bump dot, and that is where they're at. Another look at some appliances. This is a stove. The knobs on the stove with this individual, we're looking at medium heat. This is somebody who's low vision. They need a large contrasting letter. It's a M for medium, and they also have the Braille M below that. The next knob has two bump dots for medium, and then a bump dot between the numbers 6 and 7. So they're looking at a medium, or the highest they want to go is between 6 and 7, a medium high temperature. And the next picture I have here is of a toaster oven. This is an example of something that might be a little too over labeled. I'm not even going to go over what all those labels are, but they're for each individual temperature that's on this toaster oven. If it were a consumer, if it was me, I would just label the temperature that I would use most regularly. And I want to end with being aware. You purchase bottles from the store, they're both the same. Make sure that if they're the same shape and size, that you clearly label them. This has a large print label on it, as well as rubber bands on the vinegar and water. On the bleach bottle, it just has the labels. With the soap bottles here, they're similar size and shape. Laundry detergent versus floor polish. And I'm not sure you want to wash your laundry with a floor polish soap. So we definitely want to make sure that we're keeping them in their correct places. The floor polish soap probably would go into the kitchen under the sink, and the Tide would go to the laundry room or wherever your laundry's at. Things to be aware of as far as placement, you can see 3 bottles here. They're all in the same room. One is an air freshener. Definitely make sure that only stays by the toilet or wherever you want your air freshener. Shout, stain fighter needs to go by the wash machine and dryer if your apartment has them both in the same room. And your bathroom cleaner definitely needs to be marked differently and probably should be put under the sink in with the cleaning supply. Keep them separate. And make sure things go in the right place. If you're like me and you have kids, they tend to forget to put things in the right places. If you see, this is under the kitchen sink, everything's organized, separated well, but right in the front, there is a bathroom cleaner, and we don't want that there. It should be in the bathroom, but I want you to be aware it does happen. Just make sure that if you live with someone else, everybody puts things in the right place. I'm going to ask you for questions, but as we do that, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I first would like to thank Professional Interpreting Enterprise, PI, for providing the sign language interpreting. Our interpreters have done a wonderful job this week. And also a quick thank you to the staff here at the center. They have all put in a great deal of time, sweat, and tears. And this would not have been possible without their help. They've all done an awesome job. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to the community, to you for joining the Center for Deafblind Persons for our week-long celebration of National Deafblind Awareness Week. If you didn't join us, we would be here by ourselves, talking to ourselves. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope all of the information that we have shared with you, you take away some knowledge from this and you share it with the people. Thank you much. And if you do have questions, we can answer them now for you. Right. Thank you, Amy. Great job to everybody. And I'm